Yeah.
Catch you off guard?
Not really. There's been a lot of talk about him. A lot of talk of him getting a chance going south. Big receiver, young. That's the one thing. They'll go young and big before they'll go old in anything. Right?
Cardigan guys.
Yeah.
Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom from the Cardigan guy. Joe's he's gonna get a shot in Indianapolis. They're a team that maybe could use some new blood, use some new bodies in there. I hope he gets a decent look. That's the thing, right?
That's what I'm really curious to talk to Farhan about. And does he know what they have in the stable in Indianapolis? Does he know deep enough where he fits? Because when it comes to NFL, you got like mini camp after summer gatherings, whatever and
after whatever.
So
right?
there is no guarantees that anything's happening here. Do we root for him? Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Do we want him to come back here? Absolutely. So then I texted Vanstone last night. Said I didn't know the answer to this. Far from know-it-all guy. Is what happens with his contract when he comes back?
He remains the property of the Riders.
Only as long as his CFL contract, though. So he was on a 2-year deal. So after this year,
he's a free agent.
Free agent season. But, and then what was the other thing that we learned today was in negotiation, if you've played in the league, you can't go on a negotiation list. Like you're just free agent guy.
That's right. You know, yeah.
So signed a CFL contract.
Signed a CFL contract.
Because there's guys who have signed and haven't played. Went back down. But yeah, if you signed a contract in the CFL, you can't go on a negotiation list. So,
and it's just how does he fit in? Where does he fit? Like,
I'm just looking at Indianapolis roster right now. They got 7 wide receivers listed on the roster.
And then how many do they have on the practice roster? How many do they have coming to all these mini camps and gatherings and summer shakedowns or whatever you want to call them? Like, no, I don't want to say that there are a dime a dozen, but there are a lot of receivers cut from the same mold. I think, would it be realistic to think that obviously you want to make the team? For sure.
Yep.
Make the opening day roster, make the team. But I think the goal would be to just even be on the practice roster. What's up, Colson? What's the average practice roster receiver make in the NFL? I'm going to guess 400,000.
Really?
And I could be way off.
That's a big nut.
Let's see, between 12,500 and 21,300 a week. Average.
Of course, they break it down by
salary.
the week.
Well, that's 50,000. So
How many weeks are we thinking you're working here, son?
there's 17 weeks in an NFL season.
Yeah, but how many before that? 4 or 5?
You don't get paid in training camp. You only get paid for the season.
Okay, so 7. Sorry,
For an 18-week regular season, practice squad players earn between $225,000 and $383,000.
I wasn't that far off.
No, you weren't. Pretty good.
Okay, so here's another thing that I thought of yesterday. 936-6262. If you have any thoughts, the way our dollar is going, I feel sorry for anybody that has to buy goods in American. And okay, so the way our dollar is going, will any CFL teams see a little bit of reverb from that as far as guys saying, I'm going to get my career started. I got a good opportunity at this insurance company down here in Kennebunkport. I'm good, because it's like, okay, now you're going to come up, chase the dream in the CFL, make Canadian loon dogs, which are could be worth 50 cents at
That's the way the world's going. Yeah. The prediction is it'll be less than it is now. It'll go down to at least 60 cents.
I'm fully prepared for that.
Yeah.
Worst year ever to be pot committed to going to Disney World. Worst year ever.
Love it. Yeah, it's going to affect some guys without a doubt. Some guys are, they're probably teetering anyway whether they're going to go play football or start their careers, right? They're probably, right? So you throw the 60-cent dollar in, yeah, they move on to the career. For a lot of guys, it is their career. It is what they're trying to do. They're chasing the dream, and they're not going to give up on that regardless of pay till it's over. There's lots of time in your life to work. There's not a lot of time in your life to play.
Yeah, but you don't really want to be homeless either.
You're not homeless.
But if you're making league min here and you have, let's say, expenses or stuff going on down south that you need, like, that doesn't stretch very long.
No.
That's not, I don't know. What is minimum wage? Something like minimum wage is tough to go off, but I wonder if guys will say, I think I've given it a good shot. It's time to get my career going here because I can't go up there and make 60 cents on a dollar.
I'll bet you a lot of them don't know that it's 60 cents on the dollar. Think about that. And I'm not saying they're uneducated or they just haven't looked at it. They've never thought they were going to end up playing football in Canada.
You're insulting their intelligence?
And I'm not insulting that. What I'm saying is,
hey,
they weren't
Mr.
thinking
Financial expert in my cardigan.
I'm just saying they weren't thinking about it. They wasn't part of not that they were going to the NFL. Nobody wakes up and goes, geez, I want to play on the East Coast, right?
No.
They all think they're going to the show.
Yeah, so there's a lot to think about when it comes to that. Yeah, go ahead.
And another hockey thing, and I don't know if you saw this today. Best new logo in sport came out today. Best new logo in sport. The Newfoundland Regiment that we playing in the Q next year put out their logo. I don't know if you guys can find that and throw it up on the screen.
I did see it on social media somewhere. I didn't think it was that great.
I thought it was fantastic.
This could be a whole debate of you and me.
On logos?
What's a really cool logo and what isn't? We have nothing but time to kill.
Yeah, let's put it up there, boys. I'm sure you can find it.
We're going to take a quick break, though, right now.
Oh, really?
And I think Brad's coming in a bit. Buddy, it's not an hour show. We got more time. It is a SportsCage. We're streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Regina Pats 620 CKRM. It's Barney Shynkaruk and Sharky on this Thursday for Access Communications. And you need some good internet these days.
You do.
Access Communications.
Great internet by them.
Yeah, I stream a lot of programs. Internet's come a long way.
It has.
Like even in the last 5 years.
Yep. Speed, quality.
The thing, though, is everybody complains if it's not good now, especially kids.
They don't function without it.
Well, the internet here sucks. Listen, kid, back in my day,
here's a rock. Go play outside.
We had 12 channels and 2 were French.
And 2 were just news. Broadcast news. It just kept peeling the story over and over and over again.
Right. At midnight, they just went to a blank screen. Remember, they played the anthem?
And it was over.
And that was it. They didn't
the color bars. Beep.
Who was the genius that sat around a board table one day and said, we should just rerun some stuff overnight? That's crazy talk, Jim.
Nobody's watching. Who's going to watch midnight to 5 a.m.?
Yeah.
The guy that just got off work.
Yes, we're just going to blank screen.
Yeah.
This is the kind of decision, man. I've been around broadcasting my whole time, and sometimes it's like you hear people and they make decisions on things, and it's like, why? Well, because that's how it's always been done. The way to evolve.
It's as soon as somebody says that to me, I'm done talking to them.
Yeah.
We've always done it that way. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that was the way I think. Remember where Amazon would be? They'd be still shipping the odd book around.
Yeah, Blockbuster.
There wouldn't be
movies.
Tunnels underneath Las Vegas so you can drive Teslas only through. That still baffles me every time I see that thing.
I haven't seen that.
Elon Musk, you haven't seen the tunnels underneath Vegas?
No.
Look it up. Let's go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline. It is 25. In order of $25, you're getting free delivery. You got to order a Western Pizza Express. No one likes to cook.
No.
In this weather, in this month.
Had it Monday. It's delicious.
Yeah. I might have it tonight with this guy, actually.
Really?
We hit up the Western Pizza in Melville 2 weeks ago. Why wouldn't we hit one up tonight? Our kids play on the same hockey team. Head coach of the Regina Pats, Brad Herauf, is joining us. Hoff, you guys got in late. Like, did you have bus trouble or something out of Alberta last night?
No, just coming from Lethbridge. I think by the time we got out there, it was almost 11 o'clock, and obviously a time change here, so it was almost 6 o'clock, I think, by the time I walked in my door.
Jeez.
Yike. That's stuff I don't miss about hockey. That's one thing I do not miss. It's that buzz coming home.
How tough is it? Like, just give people a look behind the curtain here, and how can you put it into words where you have this young team, young scrappy team, and you got to go into that Alberta triangle there, and these teams are built for a Memorial Cup. Like, as a coach, I don't like, how do you put it into words?
Yeah, obviously you can't look at the overall process or the overall result. You got to try to find wins. For us, we're just, trying to go period by period and just trying to, limit our neutral zone turnovers, win the face-off battle, just make sure we're throwing more body checks than them. Just little simple things like that. And it's not the same thing all the time. It's just trying to stack up those little wins. And, when we can do those things against certain teams, you're usually in the game till the end. And, we were in the game in Calgary, and then obviously Medicine Hat kind of got away from us. They're a real good team. They score easy. Then I just really liked our response last night. We ended up giving up a shorthanded goal. About 5 minutes left. Obviously, unfortunate, went off our defenseman stick. But we killed off a 4-minute or a penalty kill with under 5 minutes left. So, there's just things like that. And I was looking on the ice, and there was 4 17-year-olds on the ice, and they're out there against a Jagger and Price, and just laughing to myself, it's like the Pac Canadians playing a Western League team. But with that being said, be able to kill penalties against guys like that, it gives our guys confidence because they're able to do it. And when they can have successes against that, for them individual selves, obviously it's not the result we want, but we're looking for, guys scoring goals, guys killing off penalties against those top players. It's little wins like that that are the development pieces we're, focusing on.
Do you learn a lot about what you have in these kids as well when you're going through things like this?
Well, I think if we talk about adversity and kids going against it or not going against it, and like as we were talking about earlier, how things used to be, but. I think it's a telltale sign. It's not easy, and it's not easy to come to the rink, and be motivated some days. But for us as a coaching staff, that's one thing that we really focus on, making it enjoyable to be at the rink, something that you want to come around to, because sometimes the expectation of, not having a chance sometimes can be a little bit daunting. But for us, I think that we really turned the expectations up on our group because we've had real close games, because we've beat some top teams. The success has come a little bit intermittently, a little bit, but we had success. We've, won periods against good teams. We've, stacked up a lot of winnable details in our games against those winning teams. So, our young guys are doing all our scoring here in the last month, or the majority of it. So there's things like that we can really look forward to, that when these guys are 18, 19 years old, we can see the projection on it.
You talk about your youth on your team, but you do have some veteran players that are there and that obviously contributing. Talk about the leadership of the 2 guys that are 20-year-olds and even your 2 19-year-old goaltenders that are definitely having to rise to the occasion on a season that maybe they wouldn't necessarily think would be their last in junior hockey.
Yeah, for sure. And unfortunately, one of our guys right now, John Babcock, he's got a little bit of a stomach issue he's been dealing with for the last 10 days. So we went into that road trip with 4 17-year-old defensemen, 15-year-old call-up from the Saskatoon Blazers, and a 19-year-old Ephraim McNutt. So it was a tough back end, but the kids did really well. Our 15-year-old we had called up from the Blazers was, he fit right in, didn't look out of place. But yeah, the older guys, they're crucial guys. it's no different than business. You know, when you're a young guy, you're just an employee, and when you're an old guy, you're leadership. You got to think of them as your managers, and then you got to think of like those guys that become your captaincy, the guys that would be kind of like your regional managers. You know, it's just when you start to think of it like that, we got a whole bunch of employees, and we don't got as many managers as the other teams do, because they're all 19, 20 years old, and when you can have, and that's what this league is. So. We lean on them a lot. We're a big culture thing. That's something that we're talking about all the time about is our culture, and learning to win and making sure that there's an identity when the fans come to the rink that they can expect to see it of our hockey team. And we feel that we can demand those consistent things out of our group right now when we are of age to be in a spot of winning. We really believe our foundation of our hockey club will be solidified.
You've been with this team 10 years now. It might shock you to even think about that, Brad, but you've been there 10 years, obviously seen some great highs, and now we're seeing teams with a little less success, but a lot of development. What can you bring to those kids, knowing that you've seen that success before with the Memorial Cup and the championship teams?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Sharky, is that I know how the circle works. I know how the cycle kind of works, and when you can see the results at 17, and you can see the good things at 16. We got 3 16-year-olds in the lineup right now, and they're really starting to come. And just the difference, after the Christmas break, and just knowing that cycle of kids, so you can have real belief in your projections and what you're seeing in your kids. I think that's one thing. I don't know if you bring that to the group, but I think that you bring that within, with working with Al Miller. Man, the guy's been through it. He's, done the cycle multiple times, so he understands the cycle. So for us having a real good cycle, or having good people like Dale Durkatch around, we're like the real, they're hockey men, and they know this business, and they know how it works. So I think just having the belief in what we're doing here, and just shutting out the outside noise, and just knowing we really believe on where we're going with this, and it's just a matter of time for us, and we think our time is getting definitely a lot closer.
I like it.
And we brought it up on the show. We talked about it earlier too. Is when people go and watch the Regina Pats at the Brandt Center now, yeah, they're young, not going to make the playoffs this year, but you're seeing the scrappy brand where they're not backing down, and there's almost the excitement in the fact where it's like the little engine that could, right?
That will.
It's like you're kind of really hoping, and you want these kids to do well. So for Brad, people to still come out, they're seeing these kids put it all out on the line. No one's mailing it in.
Yeah, no, that's I think that's one thing that we really pride ourselves in, and something that that when me and Al first connected, I think that's one thing that really brought us together, and what we believed in, and what we want our Regina Pats to represent, and how we want our players to play. And I think that's something that we've always been really aligned in with it. And I guess win, lose, or draw, we want to be able to. We believe in putting your best foot forward and giving it your all, and whatever happens. But, I think people can respect when they see effort, and you don't got to be, anyone can understand effort. You don't got to be a big time hockey fan. There can be children, there can be moms, dads, aunties, uncles who've seen the game for the first time. They can appreciate second, third efforts, and never giving up.
This might be a real tough one to answer, and kind of close with this. When you go through those and you see the Calgarys, Medicine Hat, Lethbridge, as a guy, you've been with the Pats for 10 years, but you've been around hockey a long time. Does one of those teams stand out to you as maybe a team that you've seen that's deep, that has what it takes, or are they kind of all in the same boat?
It's funny. I was talking with Matt Adenholt last night about this, and just kind of like my experience when we had Swift Current, Moose Jaw, and us, and we were all top 10 CHL at that time, and kind of the gauntlet they're at right now. I thought we were a little bit more similar, heavy, but out there's a real contrast in the style of teams. So it's going to be interesting, man. Lethbridge is going to be good. They got, big, heavy guys. They're built for there. Calgary, I always feel like, they can be a little bit better than what they're playing right now and what their result is. And then Medicine Hat, boy, they're Medicine Hat. And I just was looking at the three guys they had out. They had Basha out, who's a first rounder, Caden Lindstrom, who's out as a first rounder, and Matthew Ward, he's always been a 20-year-old for them. He's always Swift Current. He's always scored against us. So like they're missing their whole first line, and two guys were NHL first round picks. Like goodness. And now they got Tanner Mollendijk right there, who just like he plays little kid hockey out there. Like he's like that kid in novice who just pick up the puck and just skate end to end, and that's such a rarity to see in hockey nowadays and those kind of players. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how the game is called in the playoffs. What they let go, and how physical and how Medicine Hat can handle the physicality, and if they can, and if the other teams can catch up to their speed, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it will. And then maybe the biggest question of the night in Regina: what do the Regina Pat Blues have to do to beat Southeast tonight?
I'm too wrapped up in film on PA today. All I know is how to try to beat the PA Raiders.
Well, good luck with that, too.
Yeah, right
exactly.
On. Thanks so much, Brad. We'll see you at the rink tonight.
Thanks, fellas.
Right
Cheers.
Head coach of the Regina Pats, Brad Herauf, joining us. PA rolls in here on Saturday. The Raiders, like we said, they're in the battle for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game with PA on Saturday. They're I mean, what do we say? They're 4 points out of first in the East. They want to win. Like they're not taking a night off, and they're remarkably, even though they're that close in the East, they're a team that the Pats can beat.
Dayster Catch is in the lineup.
There you go,
boy, for the
Raiders.
For the Raiders. So yeah, no, it'll be good. Time for a quick break. It is the Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Regina Pats, 620 CKRM. Tandem curling still going on in Kindersley. The women's championship, the men's provincial championship. The 12 o'clock draw on the women's side, it was Campbell 7-5 over Tevenio.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. Tevenio. Seltzer 7-5 over Stevenson. Inglot 6. McCartney 5. Barker 7. Holland 5. The ladies are back on. They got the night draw, so the boys will be ripping up the patch and the Red Lion. Although Roscoe said there's more than the Red Lion that's buzzing in town right now.
I'll bet.
The standings on the women's side, Barker and Campbell have 4-0 records, so they lead there. On the men's side, they're on the ice in 3 minutes. Kleider Eady, Kalhoff, Moser, Knapp versus Thomas, and Laycock, Dirksen. Laycock leads at 5-0, followed by, and then it's a little bit of a logjam. Kleider, Knapp, right there for 2-3. Kleider's 3-2. Knapp is 3-1. Keep you updated here on that. Last night in the SJHL, what did you say about teams on winning streaks?
Didn't say anything.
Maybe it was the other guy in a cardigan that came by earlier.
Is there another guy? Another well-dressed man was in here earlier?
Flin Flon wins again last night. Drew Kosher's first.
Congratulations, Drew, on your first head coaching position.
First game as a head coach. They get shut out. Matthew Keeper, former Regina Pat, 22 saves, shutout. He hasn't lost this year.
Hasn't lost a game. Flin Flon on the Southern Swing hasn't allowed a goal. They get 2 shutouts back-to-back. But the big one's Friday night. They're in the burn.
Way
Get
burn.
your tickets.
That's actually not a bad watch. Only an hour away. If you're in the Weyburn area, and the weather's supposed to be decent, head to the arena. Flin Flon's in town, and if you didn't catch, Maz kind of broke it down yesterday, but this is their record in their last 23 games. 21, that's wins, 0 losses, 1 overtime loss. So they're creeping. They're only, 5 points back of Melfort now. They are rolling. Elsewhere, AAA, Estevan's in town to take on the Pat Canadians.
Is that tonight?
8 p.m. at the Sixer.
Okay.
Yeah. 7:30 puck drop, Pat Blues Southeast at the Ritchie. If you're in the area.
Good seats still available.
Yeah, hopefully the popcorn's fresh. Last night, the Regina Rebels in the female AAA loop, 2-1 win over Weyburn. Morgan Robertson, 24 saves in the win for the third place Rebels. And then Prairie Junior Hockey League, Fort Knox, 5-1 over the Pilot Butte Storm. Fort Knox is the top team. Riverbanks, Josh Heisted, 2 goals each. And then one senior score last night that was passed on to us. Send it in. We'll always give it a shout out.
Senior hockey. Kyle,
5-2 over Davidson. Davidson, they're only 2 losses on the season, and they've come in almost back-to-back games, I think, Keniston and Kyle. So that's a little bit of a local rundown for you. NHL, you want a break? Well, guess we got a break. I got a story for you.
Okay. At the break or now?
Now, at the hour 2, we're going to start with Farhan Lalji. Let's talk some CFL football with him. It is the Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. Welcome back, hour 2. Barney Shynkaruk, Sharky, Colson, and Curtis. Farhan Lalji coming up momentarily. I just looked. Like, every NHL team play tonight?
No, there's 22 teams play.
22 teams played tonight. Great night to go to the Canadian Brew House and watch a little puck. It's pasta and uncorked Thursdays. $11.99 pasta dish. You got 50% more wine. That means you get a 9-ounce glass for the price of a 6-ounce glass. For all you winos out there, that's a wine drinking cardigan too, Sharky. And $1 off tankards of Bud and Bud Light.
Why are you so hard on the cardigan? The cardigan looks good. Farhan, I'm going to need a cardigan review when you get on here.
Let's bring in Farhan. He's a traveling man lately. We've had some.
I like the cardigan.
Thank you.
It is.
Thank you.
I love it too. I'm a cardigan guy.
Listen, do you have a pipe that goes with that?
Oh. No, I should get one. That would be good.
Corn pipe.
I think a big hooked one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And if you go into a tobacco shop and buy pipe tobacco, they take you serious. This guy knows. This guy's seen some stuff. Speaking of a guy that's seen some stuff, Farhan Lalji, you kind of broke the Joe. What do you know that maybe we don't know about a Joe signing in Indy?
Well, I do think that they think there's something there. Now, look, at the end of the day, there's no bonus attached to it, right? So, it's not like there's a huge incentive to keep him, but I think they viewed him as a really, really intriguing prospect, more than just a training camp body per se. I think there's a real opportunity there. Right now, look, the one thing with Joe is that his speed at an NFL level. I'm not sure yet, right? Like watching him run at the CFL Combine, didn't put up necessarily great times, but in his workout, he really impressed a lot of people with his ability to catch the ball, his fluidity, his overall strength. Like he looks good coming off the bus, right? As you guys know in Regina. So, it wouldn't shock me that if he had a really good training camp that they could keep him on a practice roster and try to develop him for a little while and really find some value there, right? Because if you can get a guy like that to eventually come in and play, that's found money from an NFL perspective, right? I thought he did a lot of really good things last year with his time in the CFL. Nobody really expected him to do that, again, given how poorly the Combine performance went, how low he got drafted. But he's a hungry player, and he's still a long shot. But he's at a stage in his career where he can take that shot. A guy like Justin McInnis, for example, the Broncos wanted to sign him. No bonus attached at all, right? And so if you're at the stage of your career where you're going to make probably $250,000, do you want to pass up a chunk of that for an NFL opportunity where you're a real long shot, no guarantees, no bonuses? Whereas a guy like a Joe, this is the time in your career to take that shot. So good for him for doing it.
Got some runway there.
Yeah. Do you picture them using him more in a tight end style scenario or as some extra depth in that position rather than receiver because of speed?
I don't think so. I just think to get a guy in at this stage, like you'd have to have made that decision earlier, give him an opportunity to gain that weight. Now is he going to be an X receiver on one side of the field that's asked to take the top off of defense? No, he's not. So could you potentially use him in a receiver / situational H-back type of guy? You potentially could, but again, he's still got a ways to go just to get into that conversation. Now, if you put him on a practice roster, then maybe you decide, okay, we're going to invest a year and try to make him a tight end. But I don't know. That's not been expressed to me that that's their long-term projection for him.
Do you know enough about the depths of what Indy's got in the stable as far as receivers?
I can't sit here and go through a name-by-name depth chart, but I know that receivers are a real need position for them. So, the next thing that's going to happen is we're going to see what they do in the draft, right? Because you've got Anthony Richardson there, who's a polarizing prospect, but they took him in the top 5 in the draft, right? So you probably aren't ready to throw the baby out with the bathwater yet, right? So do you draft a receiver high? Do you draft an offensive lineman high? They've got a number of needs there in Indianapolis. So, if they can find some money here, like I said, if this could turn into found money for them, that over the course of the next 3 months, right, like he's going to sign a futures deal once the season's over, and then he's going to go to Indianapolis. He's probably going to spend 3 months there, go through their entire offseason program, and if they see enough there, does that mean they don't take as many receivers in the draft, right? Like he's certainly not going to affect what they do in the top couple of rounds, but he might affect what they do in round 6 and 7, right? That maybe if they were going to take a second or a third receiver there, they might not if they like what they see. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next few months here.
Yeah, you've seen it play out before when guys go down, in which I'm totally in the dark. I know of guys going down, but I don't. So what would be maybe the earliest that Rider Nation, if it didn't work out, you'd see him back? And then what would be, like, obviously worst case for Rider Nation, or best case, he stays there. But what would maybe be the earliest that they would figure that out, Farhan, from your expertise?
Well, look, there's a number of ways it could go, right? I mean, he might not make it to training camp, right? But if he gets to training camp, in the olden days, there was a number of different cutdown dates, right? So, a guy could get brought back after the first exhibition game. Well, that doesn't happen now. There's only one cutdown date that you have to go through, and that's at the end of camp. So, and now what happens is that extra guys get kept around to play in that last preseason game because they want to keep their starters healthy. But it is an opportunity to make an impression and potentially get onto a practice roster. So, if the OTAs don't go well, right, you could see him back in July, right? They've got rookie mini camps, they've got OTAs, they've got rookie mini camps, then they've got a main mini camp where everybody's involved. And at that point, you could see a decision get made. But if he gets to training camp, then he's going to be there until September.
Do you think the Riders do some tire kicking now, maybe more so than they would have on a couple guys? Free agents?
Potentially, right? But like for me, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the free agent class until we get to the tampering window, because right up until the 11th hour before the tampering window, guys are going to get signed. And we go through this exercise where we look at, pick any number of names that we say, okay, these are our top 30 Canadians, these are our top 30 imports. And then by the time we get to the night before the tampering window opens, every name has been crossed off because they've re-signed, right? And then you only get, maybe 5 of each that are actually going to go on the market, names of note. So I'm going to wait before I decide who they're going to be kicking the tires on heavily.
I'm going to change the topic a little bit here and go to the Vancouver Canucks and the hot mess that it presently is. I mean, now we're hearing Brock Besser may not be there. What's going on in that organization? Do they need a hug? Do they need to sing Kumbaya?
Yeah,
what do they need to do?
Yeah, I think they need a collective hug. I think so, right? Nobody would have expected at the start of the year this is what it was going to look like, right? Now, in the case of Brock Besser, they didn't get him signed in the offseason. They wanted to see whether or not he could consistently produce. I don't think anybody expected him to be a full-time 40-goal scorer. He's been in the league long enough to know that that's the high watermark, right? But he should be a low 30-goal scorer, right? That should be the baseline for him, because he's been close to that on a number of occasions, and injuries have prevented him from getting there. So, he hasn't been good out of the gate, right? None of the core members of the Vancouver Canucks outside of Quinn Hughes have been good or healthy all the way through. So, we'll see what happens with Besser. He wants to be here. That much is clear. But the organization says they're still evaluating. I don't know what there is to evaluate at this stage of his career. What you've got. He's played over 500 games in a Canuck uniform. And then, as far as the other guys are concerned, with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, and it's certainly weighing on the organization. And there's people in this market, Canuck Twitter is an ugly, ugly place, right?
I could
and so there's all these people that say, Canuck Twitter and Oiler Twitter, are just the most toxic entities you could possibly imagine. I've gotten into the habit of sending out tweets and muting the conversation just so I don't have to hear back. So, you know, what's going to happen there, right? I don't think they're going to sell him for pennies on the dollar. And there's a lot of people who think they should just because of the weight this is putting on the organization right now. And it's not like they're just looking to trade him because of all the noise. There actually is something going on there that's making them decide, look, we got to make a move here. And it is weighing on the organization. So do you sell him for pennies on the dollar, or do you wait until the deadline, or potentially even the offseason, where there's going to be more suitors and there's going to be more interest? But at the same time, if the second half of the year for JT Miller goes as poorly as the first half, what have you been left with for an asset?
Yeah,
right.
His
so
value
it's
is going
not
to
a
drop
good place to be.
substantially. Yeah. It's frustrating to watch too, because you know that that's a better hockey team than what they're showing night after night, and you know that in that dressing room there's a big ball of cancer rolling around in there, and they got to get it out.
Well, is it a better organization? Like, you could look at this and say, what is going on based on last year? Or you can look at last year in the context of the previous 10 and maybe view last year as the outlier, right? Like, there's a few ways to look at it.
True.
So,
True.
You know, and people believe or are hoping that once Miller is gone, that Pettersson will have a certain weight lifted and he'll return to the player he was 12 months ago. I have my doubts. I really do. And for a guy that can't handle the pressure to begin with, imagine what the narrative is like when they get rid of JT Miller. And maybe we never hear the true story of what happened. And they get rid of JT Miller and everyone says, oh, Pettersson, they got rid of Miller because of you and now you're not performing? Right? Like, imagine the weight that's going to be on that guy, because when he didn't have a contract, there was a weight of a pending contract. When he did sign the contract, then the story is he's now having to live up to the contract, and that's a lot of pressure. Imagine if they send number 9 out the door, the added pressure that's going to go on number 40 in that moment.
Do they switch that? Do they move Pettersson instead of Miller?
Right now, I don't think that's what they want to do. I think they believe there's still a ceiling and an upside for Pettersson to hit, although they could get a lot more from Pettersson at this point than they could from Miller. But, you know, can you wind everything back and keep Miller in the room, right? Like, you know, I think that's going to be difficult at this stage. So everyone's going to play nice and try to make the best of it, but this is a massive, massive anchor in that locker room right now.
Oh, I just want it to explode. It's like a family reunion.
It is.
Where you know that there's
I just feel for Quinn Hughes. I feel for Quinn Hughes because he's the one guy that's playing, like, this guy's playing at a Hart Trophy level. The Canucks are, a point out of a playoff spot right now because of that guy and that guy only. And, right? And so, like, you just wasted a year of Quinn Hughes' prime. And he's got 2 more years left on his deal. You better fix up a lot in order to keep him longer term.
No doubt.
You know what is one of the, you talk about Oiler Twitter and Canuck Twitter. One of the funniest things to watch is, and listen to, is Edmonton media after this cross-check incident. It's comical. I actually got an Edmonton media type coming on the show tomorrow. But what, Farhan, you saw it, you know, obviously Myers, he cross-checked him right in the face.
Right in the
he wanted to go lower, he says. What was your take on everything there as a Canucks guy?
Well, look, originally my thought was that McDavid would get a game and that Myers would get 2 games. And McDavid would get a game only because he's McDavid. And I don't hate that, right? Like, I don't, because I do believe star players should be treated a little differently. But so, you know, I thought 2-2 probably would have been right. 2-1 was my expectation. 3-3 is a bit of a surprise for me. I know I tweeted at the time that I think they got it right. Maybe it was a bit excessive for both in hindsight. But if you're the Oilers, this is a guy that's going to play in the Four Nations tournament. He's not going to get an All-Star break. A lot is going to be thrown on his shoulders. You might want to just say, thank you. We'll give him a break for a week, right? Because the guy needs it. The guy needs it. So it's not the end of the world. If they got it wrong, they got it wrong by 1 game. And for everybody saying that, well, if they would have just done this with Connor Garland, that wouldn't have helped the situation because the Oilers had the puck. There would have been no penalty called. The game would have ended with a guy's arm in the air. Wes McCauley's arm in the air, and it wouldn't have really changed much. Did Connor Garland deserve a holding penalty? Of course he did. But that doesn't warrant the reaction that McDavid gave. And Myers' which was a separate incident, was just as bad.
I wonder if Garland gets a little extra. Just rub him out a little harder this evening as they play each other in that turtleneck.
An Edmonton media member who I have a lot of love and respect for basically slowed down the Zapruder film and tried to make the case that it was actually McDavid's glove hitting Garland's shoulder as opposed to stick to face. And I'm like, come on.
The intent was stick to face. The intent was stick to face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heavy.
Well, and the stick hit his face. Whether the shoulder hit the glove first, the stick hit his face.
Yeah.
Where are you going? Are you going to Kansas City?
I'm going to Philadelphia tomorrow.
Oh,
So
we're both wrong.
We had you going to Kansas City.
Okay, let's go. Let's go to that
it's Buffalo. Because it's Buffalo, Naylor is going to cover Buffalo in Kansas City, so I get the other game.
Okay, what do the Commanders have to do to beat Philly? It's 6 points. I think it's closer than that. What are you seeing?
I'm picking Washington to win. I think right now Jaden Daniels is playing at a much higher level than Jalen Hurts is, but that offense runs through Saquon Barkley. So, and the run defense for Washington is not good. So what they need to do is they can't give up 2 60-yard touchdown runs like Los Angeles did. They have to make them work, because I really believe, in spite of how good Philadelphia's defense is, nothing is going to faze Jaden Daniels. This guy is the real deal. The NFC needs all the good quarterbacks are in the AFC. This guy's going to run the NFC for a long time. He is a special, special player. The game is played at the speed he decides it's going to be played at. And I think he's going to find a way, because that's what he's done. He's not going to be wowed by the moment. Defensively, Washington just needs to make that Philadelphia run game work for their scores. 10-play drives, 12-play drives.
Yeah.
Shorten the game. Just don't make it 60-yard gash.
And we're just watching some of the highlights there, and just like when Detroit blitzed him, and he just looked so comfortable and like dumped it to earth.
16 of 19. 16 of 19.
Yeah, those are great numbers for that quarterback in that scenario.
Do you think Philly maybe stays back a bit more, doesn't blitz much at all, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's what they should do. And I say that because their defensive line is so good that they will – I think they can get pressure. Now, that said, even with an injury in the second quarter, Washington's offensive line played very, very good in that last game. So that matchup is going to be interesting to me. I don't think Philly needs to blitz a ton to get pressure. And I don't think you want to bring extra guys, because Jaden Daniels is really good. And I would play more zone defense and keep eyes on the quarterback instead of playing a ton of man defense where their eyes are off the quarterback because they're chasing receivers everywhere. If they can do that and they can rally, because the one thing with Daniels, he's not crazy fast. If you watch him, he's very fluid, right? And so he gets into space. He knows when to cut. He knows when to, there's just a sense of timing where the game has slowed down so much for him as a rookie. And if you read up on all the virtual reality stuff that he's been doing for the last couple of years, how much that's contributed to the game slowing down for him. But I would want to keep 11 eyes on Jaden Daniels and not have a bunch of guys in man coverage because you're blitzing, because you will lose.
Yeah, that front four is the key to the game, from my lens. Okay, so the other one, lots of Chief fatigue going around, especially in this room.
Not me.
I don't know.
Not me at all.
No, I don't know. I thought, like, Baltimore, I was like, hey, Baltimore's going to come back and win this, and then Baltimore's going to go to Kansas City and win. And now Buffalo, I don't know. Like, how do you see, what does Buffalo have to do? Is it a score for
Buffalo's
score thing?
Well, I think it's going to be, right? Because Buffalo's defense is good. They're not special. Yeah. And Patrick Mahomes, look, I picked Kansas City to win at the start of the year, and I'm going to stick with that, although I was at the last game, and I was less impressed with Kansas City in that playoff game than I have been at any point this season, right? But I do believe when they get to the AFC title game, there's another gear there, and I do believe that they know what it takes to move the ball against Buffalo. Can Buffalo get off the field on third down? Kansas City's got the best third down offense in the league. They didn't show it in the last game. They found other ways to win, but I think they're at their best in those critical situations. So can they get off the field on third down, and can they limit them in the red zone? Because they have struggled at times in the red zone. But I do think that Mahomes is going to be able to generate long drives and keep Josh Allen off the field. So ultimately, it is going to be a match for match thing. And to be honest, Baltimore should have won that game. They really should have. They made their own mistakes and handed it back to Buffalo. So, you've got two teams that maybe didn't play their best football last week here. I'm going to stick with Kansas City just because that's what I said at the start of the year. But they did make me waver in that last playoff game against the Texans.
Does Buffalo have, and I don't know how you coach football, but when I coach football, I always like to keep something that the team hasn't seen. Some sort of wrinkle. And I know it's dangerous at times because you got to throw it out. Does Buffalo have anything to show them defensively or offensively that they haven't seen?
Probably not. I think that Andy Reid has a pretty good beat on what they like to do defensively. And look, if you're Sean McDermott, you also have to do what you do. You know what I mean? Like, there's a danger in keeping a bunch of stuff. If it's something like, teams need to practice things, right? Like if you never do them and you never do them in game situations, it's difficult to bring that much out, and it's harder on defense than it is on offense. To be truthful, like, you can bring in a couple of plays and a couple of series offensively, but defensively, if you're a predominant man team and a high pressure team, and all of a sudden you want to play off and play a ton of zone, that becomes difficult if that's just not what you do. Defenses have a harder time with that. So I think they're going to go with what they're most comfortable with. We'll see if they've got another level. But like I said, I think Buffalo's been solid defensively. They haven't been special. And I do believe that, like, I think Houston's defense is better than Buffalo's. Right.
Oh.
So I do think Mahomes will have a little more success there.
I was shocked when Detroit went to the running back pass play at that juncture of the game. I'm like, what do you do? It's triple coverage. Of course he's going to throw. Don't do anything crazy like that. All right, well, travel safe into Philly. Man, that place. You hit up that weight
you gotta
bench
be careful.
that Maz has been talking about, the people's bench that they have in the tailgate.
Yeah.
Get your swole on before. Right on. Travel safe, Farhan.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Enjoy the games.
Yeah, from TSN, Farhan Lalji. I'm going to take that.
Washington bet?
Plus 235 action
Is that what it is now?
on Washington. On Cool Bet, where I'm at right now. Plus
Okay.
235.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't a guy?
Let's see what that comes out to. See what kind of money that makes me.
Yeah.
There we go.
I don't like Philly, so it makes it even a little bit more. Like, I'm not telling, maybe a half a unit. Maybe not even just a little something to make it interesting.
And is Philadelphia's quarterback 100%? Like, that's the other thing I've been trying to follow this week. Is he 100%?
I don't know if anyone's 100%.
Yeah.
You're talking about his head?
Yeah.
Concussion stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. He played
that-
fairly good last
As that team's going to go as Saquon Barkley goes, and if they can stop him, Washington's got a
Can't give up
chance.
the long run,
No,
like Farhan said.
Can't make the field disappear in a play.
Do you have Chiefs fatigue?
A little bit. I got Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift fatigue. I need that to go away. That's boring.
And then now, what's her name was in the box? The basketball player.
Oh, Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here we go. Now, who's in the box? Who's in the box this week? That should be a bet. It's a cool bet should get on. What random female celebrity?
Tell you who's not. Yeah. You know what? And I also have.
Melania Trump.
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Whatever happened to Trudeau's wife? Speaking of that, you ever think about that?
She's dating some doctor in Montreal. She's happy, right? She's got that weirdo out of her life. She's good.
Nerd.
I get some Buffalo excitement. I do. I really do. You know, there's a franchise in the NFL you really feel for, and it's the poor old Buffalo Bills.
Yes.
Right? Like they're a good football team. You want to see them have that chance.
I was thinking of wearing a Buffalo Bills jersey or anything on the show tomorrow just to show my support. I don't know one buddy that's a big enough Bills fan that has anything, though. I was like, check going through the box. Not that I have a ton of friends, but I was like, no.
I got a Dallas Cowboys skull shirt you can wear.
Definitely. I could. I think, speaking of, if we're still here in 2 years, that jersey won't be worn for a long time.
Not for NFL championship weekend.
Here's a question I asked Ryan Pollock when he was in co-hosting on Tuesday.
Great show, by the way.
Thank you. So, do you despise or dislike the Chiefs more, or did you despise or dislike the Patriots more when they were going through it?
Oh, I hated Belichick. Just his demeanor, right? Just that. Yeah. Just that whole, look at me, I'm so superior, and I wear a torn sweatshirt, and nobody can tell me what to do.
It sounds like a cardigan guy kind of thing to say.
Yeah, it does, kind of a cardigan guy. But the sideshow of Kansas City is it's just, stop it. Go make it go away. Like, I don't care. Like, and who really cares? But I don't care anymore. Turn it off.
It's a good question. I like asking. I've been asking people all week that question.
I think it's the Leafs all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think? Yeah. Have you seen some of the videos of the hits that Brady used to take?
Oh,
that are going around now.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm a Patriots fan, but it's quite comical. It's like early days. It's like, oh, ouch.
That looks like it hurt.
Poor Tommy.
The Chiefs are a good football team. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. The Chiefs
are
they get some very good football players. They play well. Andy Reid has done a great job of coaching that team and getting them to the level they're at.
He's a good coach.
They've won 2 straight Super Bowls, right? They've 3 of the last whatever. They're a good football team. But some of the crap that we have to put up with around them has made me go, this is boring. Turn it off.
I also think of Patrick Mahomes, something about him. It looks like he walks like he's got a board up his arse, I find. And I don't know why it bothers me. I don't know what I used to hate Russell Wilson, I used to hate the Seahawks. Not as much as where I am right now when it comes to the Chiefs.
I never hated the Seahawks. Questioned some of their play calling, but I never hated the Seahawks.
I can't tell the story on the air. I got a funny Seahawk fan story. I'll tell. Let's take a quick break.
I hated the Eagles for a long time.
If you're watching the stream at sportscage.com, you see Sharky's cardigan. And if not, you're listening to us on the home of sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Clutch performer time for Nick Service in Emerald Park, your local Massey Ferguson, Challenger, Rogator, Gleaner, and Fent dealer. Call 781-1077. Talk to the fine folks at Nick's Service. Couple of local ones today on my front. Don't know if you guys have any. Go on. Let's go. Jonah Derringer. U15 Regina Royals A.
Okay.
U15A. Backstops the Royals last night to a win in their provincial playdown series versus the Blues. Jonah and the Royals now take on the Shamrocks in the next round. So Jonah Derringer, he's a big baseball guy,
nice.
athlete,
Jonah.
charismatic kid. Elsewhere to the Junior B ranks yesterday, Kellen Bojic, 43 saves in the loss, but a busy night for him. For the Pilot Butte Storm, they lose 5-1 to Fort Knox. Riverbanks and Josh Heisted, 2 goals each for Fort Knox. And let's give one more, Yuan Hue. Regina Pat's goal.
Yeah, big night for him.
48 saves. 48 saves against the Lethbridge Hurricanes in a 4-2 loss for the Regina Pats. It was tied after 1. It was tied after 2. We talked to Brad Herauf in hour 1.
Yep.
You can go back and listen to that in podcast form. He says how we were there. It was a bad break. They killed off a 4-minute power play
with
against that
17-year-olds.
team.
Like with 17-year-olds.
A glorified AAA midget team against a team that's built to go to the
deep in the
Memorial
playoffs.
Cup.
Yep.
So there's our clutch performers.
Way to go.
For Nick Service in Emerald Park.
Why were you
Lots of hockey games tonight.
Why were you asking about the Kansas City Chiefs defensive coordinator?
I keep forgetting his name.
Steve Spagnuolo.
Spagnuolo. He's a good coach. Reed's a good coach. I respect those guys. I respect them. Board up arse guy, not so much. Travis Kelce. See, for the longest time, Kelce was always so cocky, and they never won anything. So the running joke with me and my buddies was like, they're the Washington Capitals of the NFL. Then the Caps won.
Yes.
And then the Chiefs started winning, so then we had to eat some crow. But we better shut up on that one. Let's figure out a new chirp.
They're a good football team. They are.
Oh, yeah.
They're a very good football team.
I still despise them. Chief fatigue. Oh, here we go. Brandon texting in. My son's favorite team is the Bills. You can borrow one if you want. I'm a little portly.
His son might be. You don't know what size of his son. Or
I've met them. They're always in the Harvard Lounge. So Harvard 620. They're good people.
Okay. So the kid's too little.
Guzzles. Pilsner. We got more text coming in, but I got to read these ones long. Hockey tonight, you're talking.
Yeah. Well, tonight and tomorrow, that Flin Flon Weyburn game tomorrow, I think that's going to be a heck of a game down in Weyburn. Flin Flon 21-0-1-1. That's quite a streak they're on, and they got a goaltender who hasn't lost all year. They haven't allowed a goal on their Southern swing in 2 games, 2 shutouts. I'd say get to Weyburn, get to the Colisée, as they call it in Weyburn. For that's going to be a great one. And the Pac Canadians at home tonight against Estevan. The Bears are in town. We watched them the other night. They were up against Moose Jaw. Moose Jaw's fast. Oh my God, is that Moose Jaw team fast? Can they fly and can they handle a puck? So, but a good test for the Pac Canadians tonight with Estevan in town.
Yes. Okay, I read it. Eli hasn't texted in a while. I love Eli. He always needs a hug. But I like him. I like when he said the only reason McDavid got 3 games is because he plays on a Canadian team. This type of crap happens all the time now in the NHL. It's basically an American league. And the Canadian teams supply the money to the lowly American teams. Canadian teams will never win another Stanley Cup unless, of course, the Montreal Canadiens get another one. The only real Canadian team with any hope to get another one, Eli. Thanks, Eli.
Wow.
I don't know if the Canadian teams prop up the NHL, American teams.
I
Especially with our 60-cent dollar.
Yeah.
They're like laughing at us. No, you keep it. Hey, take the bottles out of our staff room if you need to on your way back to Canada.
Keep your cans. Keep your cans when you leave. It's okay. They're all good. Yeah.
Kevin, shout out, says was listening on the radio on the way home, just turned on the stream. And yes, I agree. That is a beauty cardigan.
Thanks,
on
Kevin.
young Sharky.
Appreciate that. That's very nice.
It is.
Appreciate that. Thanks, man.
This guy.
I've got him in other
asked
colors.
the
as well.
Atlanta Braves about Philly fans. And then I don't know if the last comment is directed at me. I can't repeat it on the air, or if it's directed at Philly fans. Either way, it's a good one.
How about that Philly fan that got banned for life and then fired from his job for the rant on the
I'm
Green
so
Bay
glad
fan?
he got caught.
So am I.
That poor lady from Green Bay.
She was,
like,
yeah.
We're at a football game. Like, what the stuff he was saying to her?
That's offside anywhere. In prison, that's offside.
Well, have you been there?
Yeah.
How do you know what prison rules are? You walk into prison with that cardigan. I want to see how long you last. Let's make that happen.
No, not going in with this cardigan. Yeah.
You can keep the text coming in 936-6262. Did you run through the NHL games?
There's 11. Detroit, there's some big ones too. Like in terms of where they are in the standings, Detroit, Montreal.
Well, that East
Boston, and all, there's a lot going on there.
I said it. Who was we were talking to Eric Franz? I forget who we were talking to. Maybe not Eric. Maybe it was Ryan when Pollock was in the other day. I'm like, you could go on a 5-game heater in the Eastern Conference and make up 1 point.
Exactly. It's tight.
Like it's like talk about banging your head against the wall.
Tight. West not quite the same, but the East is really tight. Like I think there's 6 teams right in the mix for that last wild card spot, including Columbus.
Columbus Hurricanes tonight.
Played well. Won in Toronto.
Here's another trivia question. If people weren't listening the other day when I asked this you might fall off your chair.
Okay, ready.
Give me don't look at the screen here.
Okay.
Give me the odds on the top 3 odds on favorite to win right now. I'm at coolbet.com. They're kind of all the same.
Yep.
To win the Stanley Cup in the future. Top 3 favorites as we stand right now, January 23rd, to win the Stanley Cup.
I'm going to say Coolbet's picked Florida. They've picked Edmonton. That's 2. Florida.
You're correct on both. Who do you think 1 is, though?
Edmonton.
Yeah.
Edmonton's 1.
So you're missing number 2.
I'm missing number 2, so Florida's 3. 2. Carolina.
Wow.
Pretty good.
Good on ya.
Yeah.
You do need a pipe. You need to smoke a pipe. You're smart. Sit in a big leather chair.
I want a big
I think
leather
that's
recliner.
baffling to me. Maybe I got to pay more attention to. Carolina's burnt me twice in playoff pools, though. Keniston Super Draft.
Yeah.
Always load up. Carolina, this is their year. Last year, didn't they lose first round?
Yeah, they got bounced early. Unceremoniously.
So look at the value. I got him at 1,400.
Who's at Vegas?
Yes.
Yeah, I sprinkled on that as well. Yeah.
Plus 1,300 right now.
I think I got him at 1450.
And
is what I got him at.
I don't mind plus 1,500 Winnipeg.
No, or Washington.
Yeah, I don't think Washington's going to do anything.
Really?
No. They're playing really good hockey. I just can't see it being sustainable.
They're a very senior team.
I watched the game against Edmonton the other night. Logan Thompson was in net. No goaltending expert, although I was decent in street hockey back in the day.
That's your comparison? That's what you're using?
Yeah.
Is your street hockey skills?
I was okay.
Okay.
Net was never out of a play, they said. Didn't matter where that tennis ball was. He's never out of a...
He's always in position.
But he saved a lot of pucks, but he looked like he didn't know where they were.
It looked awkward.
After he saved him, it's like, did that just go by me? Oh, no, wait, it's right here. You know, you've coached a lot.
Yeah.
Those goalies, it's like, just keep shooting. He doesn't even know where it is.
He's completely lost. Shoot him. He can't get his arms tight to his body. It'll go right through him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I personally don't think that Washington scares me in deep. The only way he could wear a cardigan in prison is if it was orange. Gary
That's true.
from Winnipeg.
Thanks, Gary.
The old fart. Gary, what do you think about your Winnipeg Jets? They're in Winnipeg. And when's the last time you were at Silver Heights? What's this?
I know you're a big fan of the Silver Heights. You mention it all the time. They should really.
I really hope the Riders
become a sponsor.
I really hope the Riders make the Grey Cup, just so we can take you there.
I'd love to go. I think the Jets are for real. I do. I think, and the biggest reason they're for real is Hellebuck. Right?
They need an easier first round, and not that anything's easy in the playoffs. But last year, Colorado.
That was a tough first. Yeah.
Hey, congratulations!
Right now, I think they'd be looking at Calgary. Right. I think that would be a much better first round matchup for them. Right. Get their feet under them. But I do think the Jets are a for real team. I can see myself in late April in Winnipeg watching a game.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't.
I know a guy.
You're gonna go in late April. I'll go with you if you can get it. If you're going, that drive sucks actually, especially in late April. Nope, I'm out.
It sucks all the time.
I'm out. There's a good chance you'll be driving in some sort of snowstorm.
Winnipeg has got one temperature, 40 degrees. It's either minus or plus. I've never been there with another temperature, 40, minus or plus. That's it.
It is the All New SportsCage. We are streaming. That's why everyone's chiming in on
Cardigan
Sharky's sweet cardigan at sportscage.com. Roscoe chimed in. My grandpa had the same cardigan and he smoked a pipe.
Roscoe?
And he handed out hard mint candy. That part I made up. Thanks, Roscoe. Okay, so that hat definitely doesn't go with that cardigan.
No,
but it is University of Regina report time. If you're watching the stream, Sharky's got his U of R hat on.
All ready to go. Shalane Pritchard in the track and field team set a school mark in the pentathlon. Her first event of the season, she had a solid second place finish with a personal best of 3,827 points, which puts her number 3 in the U Sports rankings. She had the best event was a shot put. Yeah, shot put. On her third and final attempt, she unleashed a throw of 13.07 meters to beat Chantal Lebrec's old U of R record of 13 flat. Pritchard also hit a personal best in the 60-meter hurdles. Jonathan Podobelski threw down a time of 2:23.13 in the 1,000 meters, winning by over a second and a half. His time broke the Golden Bear Open meet record, which had stood since 1984. Way to go, Jonathan. His time also puts him number 2 in the national rankings, and Eisworth hits the U Sports standards in the 600 meters. What else we got here?
More from the shot
More
pit.
from the track team. They're on next Saturday, Knights of Columbus Games, Saskatoon, but they're only sending one athlete to that event.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just reading the report. Swimming Cougars combined for 15 personal bests at their last meet, so that team's coming alive. Men's hockey dropped 2 on the weekend, 4-0 and 6-3 to U of A. They host UBC this weekend, Friday at 7, Saturday at 5. Women's hockey also dropped 2 to the division leaders, U of A Golden, or they're the Pandas on the women's side. 2-1 and 1-0. The U of R women's team now sits 2 points behind Manitoba for second place in their division. Women's volleyball dropped 2 to Mount Royal. They now sit 3 points out of a playoff spot behind UBC Okanagan. And men's and women's basketball are coming off the bye last week. This week they host the Winnipeg Westmen. In the women's side, the 10-2 Cougars host the 4-8 squad from Winnipeg, and the men come in with a record of 10-2 to face the 6-6 Cougars. And finally, at the World University Games in Trino, Italy, Canada, led by the U of R team, led by Bryden, finished 4th, losing 3-2 to the U.S. And the bronze medal match to losing the 2-3 match to the U.S. and losing the match to the Swiss as well.
No, they won the bronze.
No, they lost.
They lost the bronze?
Yeah.
Oof.
They lost.
What was I got to go to sportscage.com and read more. Good report.
You're questioning my reporting?
What would you, if someone was holding a gun to your head
Okay.
and said,
So like Saturday night. All right, let's go on.
you're at the mall. No, just kidding.
Yep.
What event would you go in? You have to go in one to represent the Cougars. Everybody's down at the Knights of Columbus in Saskatoon. What event are you going in?
Oh, track
At this
and field event?
this stage in your life.
Shot pit.
And the physical shape I'm in? There isn't an event for old fat guy.
I would do. I don't even think they do it in the field house.
I can't even run anything. I can't throw a fit.
I would go obviously hammer throw.
Oh,
And whatever happens, happens.
Spin around a
Just
ball.
whatever happens. It's like, hey, and
Maybe javelin.
and wear jeans and a tank top, possibly have a dart hanging out, and just whatever happens,
and
happens.
A cold beer on the side.
Whatever. Yeah, no, like draft. A draft beer. Where the heck did he get a draft beer
And why is he
from?
smoking a pipe?
University of Regina.
Javelin
Rob
thrower.
Jamont.
Yeah.
What the hell is he wearing?
Why does he have a cardigan on for the javelin?
Yeah, anything else running wise?
No.
Paranoid to run without warming up these days.
The hips won't do it.
Everybody blows an Achilles. It's like you see
our age.
you see somebody walking and they have one of those walking boot thingies and with the wheels.
Yeah.
And it's like,
That's an Achilles.
that is why, to knock on wood, I don't want to do any of that.
That's the biggest injury in pickleball. The blown Achilles.
I've never played pickleball.
I've
I
never
got to
even
try
seen
it.
it.
What?
No,
You've seen it.
I have not seen it. I have not seen a pickleball game.
I find that hard to believe.
I hear about it. Lots of old people play it. I should be.
Are you good at any racket sports?
Oh yeah, I was really good at squash.
Yeah, I was gonna say blown Achilles injury in pickleball is definitely something someone in a cardigan would say. You know, just like it's like, oh, that'll get you in pickleball. Blown Achilles.
Three of the guys in my bridge club. Achilles.
Thanks, Curtis, for your chime in. That was very timely and appreciated.
Somebody chimed in on the YouTube about that you need slippers, and the next stage would be a smoking jacket.
I will get a pipe. We'll have a pipe for next week. Anytime I'm wearing the cardigan, we'll bring in a pipe. I have multiple colors, too.
Can I go with you when you go to the tobacco store to buy pipe tobacco?
I don't think I'm actually going to get the tobacco, just the pipe. I don't want to pick up that bad habit at this stage in my life.
Just be a prop then.
Everything I do is a prop, hat, whatever. Hey, we're about 3 weeks away from NASCAR, too. Daytona 500.
I went in a pool once and I won it, and I'm retiring. I'm retiring as a champion.
Who picked your team for you in the pool?
I picked it off names.
You picked nothing. You gave me the sheet and said, fill it out.
Pokey Reddick's dad.
Yeah, you did pick Pokey Reddick's dad. Well, no.
And there was another guy.
The Reddick was the big pick by you. Yeah, you liked that.
Hamlin.
Well, everybody had Hamlin, but yeah. Denny Hamlin. Yeah.
Can't remember any of the other guys' names.
I'd have to go back and look at your sheet.
It's like when people build their NCAA bracket based off the mascots.
They're probably as successful as anybody else.
Exactly. He went straight off the names.
Yeah.
Worked out this time, but
When does that come? That's coming around the corner too. When is Lit? Luther Invitational. I've never
Choose your
gone
own-
to it. I got to go to it.
Middle of February. She's around the middle of February.
Like before the break then. Before
Yeah,
the
choose
Christmas break.
choose
Or
around
before the February break.
Yeah, she's around Valentine's Day. Don't ask me why I know that.
February 6th is the first day this year. So it looks like
There you
they
go.
bumped it a week earlier because
Tip off February 6th. Because I'm a Brit guy, Bedford Road, which I remember getting in a debate once just out of high school. Man, did I look like an idiot, as per usual. Saying that no, Brit was the original. And it was like, no, it lit the Lutheran. It's like, no, they copied us. No, it was theirs.
I don't even think Bedford Road was built when Luther was around. When is that school built?
Luther is older.
Yeah.
Bedford. Jeez, that's a good question. 60s?
Yeah, Luther's been around since way before
30.
that.
Well, yeah, look at the outside.
Yeah.
It's old school. I like it. So February 6th, 7th in there. Nice.
That's
There's
what you've got, Colson?
two
Yeah.
gymnasiums now there, right?
They do. So they have a women's tournament as well.
I want to
Yeah.
go in the original, like the,
The old school one.
yeah.
Been in there a couple times.
In Brit, they used to, when you would, in the stands, you would want to order something. I remember Buster bars and Dilly bars.
Okay.
When it was like the big thing. Or if you wanted a popcorn, got tough. Nachos, it got tough. So they would be serving, walking on the baseline or walking on the court. And then you would say, hey, popcorn. So then they would throw a tennis ball up to you with a cut in it.
You put the money in.
You put the money in the tennis ball. Then you throw it out. Obviously, there was always some jackass that throws it onto the court.
Yeah.
Throw it. Then they would have to go and... So that's where you'd want to make it easier. And then they would hand it all the way up to you and then down. Where if it was a Dilly bar or a Buster bar, you just say, just chuck it. Can of pop, not so much.
No.
Someone's taking that in the skull. On the west
chiclets.
side, that's all you need is just to start a massive brawl. But yeah, the tennis ball thing. Luther didn't have it. Was that an original?
I don't know. That might be Brit. That we might have to give that one to Brit. I don't know that Luther
have
had that
something.
scenario.
So Brit, it was their 55th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
So it started in 1970. Luther started lit in 53.
Oh,
So a little
well
closer.
17 years.
17-year gap. A
before.
little closer than you would expect it, but yeah, that would have put him at...
He asked when Bedford it
built.
was a school. It was. I don't think it was the 70s. It was before that. I don't know. Full of useless information.
Yep.
Thursdays
Follow along.
on the Sports Cage for Access Communications.
I
Thanks
can
for the
drag
internet.
this show down to nothing.
We'll be back. We're streaming. We got Glen Suitor coming up, hour 3, Sports Cage, streaming at sportscage.com. And as always, on the home of sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. We are back. Hour 3 of the program. Barney Shynkaruk, Sharky, Colson, and Curtis. Don't forget the Winter Classic is coming up for the Rough Rider Foundation. It's Saturday, February 1st, 1 p.m. at the Merlis Belcher Center in Beautiful rink.
It is.
Have you been in that rink?
No.
Up in Saskatoon. There's Chris Getzlaff's team versus Kian Schaefer-Baker's team.
No.
Chris Getzlaff team, coached by Kian Schaefer-Baker, taking on Brett Lawther's team, who was supposed to be coached by a Joe.
Do you think it's contrary his opportunity now in
Wow.
Indianapolis denies him that?
No, I don't think. I just think he'd be preoccupied.
He might not be there yet.
Family fun zone, so much to do for the families on that. $25 per ticket for ages 13 and older, free admission for 12 and under. This year, new team tickets, $95 for 20 tickets. So that is, you get to, and autographs galore and all that stuff. Saturday, February 1st in Saskatoon. They asked me to play in it. I can't. It would have been fun.
It would have been fun.
Played against Brett Lawther and Mitch Picton last night.
I heard
I will
Lawler,
talk about that
I heard
tomorrow.
Lawler can dangle.
He's got a great shot.
Yeah.
He's got a great shot. And he embarrassed me yesterday, so I'll tell it tomorrow when Picton's on the show.
Before we get to Glenn, when we were talking about cookies earlier, somebody texted me and reminded me that one of the best cookies my wife makes is
How does this person know that?
out of the Eat More bar. It's Crofty.
Oh.
She makes cookies out of Eat More bars. Those I'll bring you, boys. Those you'll love.
Eat More bars.
Yeah.
Man, the Eat More is underrated.
It is. It's truly underrated.
Old school.
Yeah.
Cardigan.
Love the
That's
Eat
a
More bar.
cardigan candy bar.
That's the Eat More bar. That's what this cardigan's written about.
I was
Eat More
looking
bar.
up, actually, when we were in news, the world's largest cardigan store.
And?
Nothing came up. And then what did Gary in Winnipeg texted in again. Have you been asking if we've been watching the Barrett Jackson auction on YouTube? That's crazy.
It is.
And he says, "What's your favorite vehicle, make, model, year?" Mine's a '78 Camaro Rally Sport.
Ooh, mine's an '80 Camaro Berlinetta.
Mine's a 1989 Honda CRX
Really?
hatchback. I wanted that out of high school. There was not a one for sale, so I went with the Toyota MR2, Mr. 2, little two-seater.
Yep.
Engine in the back. What a death trap! Can't believe I'm
you'd have
still
been
here.
maybe the AMC Pacer or the Gremlin.
Why the hell would I buy a Gremlin with my first vehicle that I'm working hard for?
it's
That's
probably the
something
only
your
thing you can
parents
afford.
buy and you drive.
It's the only thing you can afford.
Well,
Glenn, did you ever have a Gremlin?
yeah, Glen Suitor. Let's go.
Let's bring him on.
Western Pizza guest hotline, $25 free delivery, everything Western Pizza. He doesn't strike me as a Gremlin guy, Glenn.
No, I wasn't a Gremlin guy, but I had I don't even know who makes it, but I had a Vega. Remember the Vegas?
Chevy, the Chevy Vega.
Was there a Chevy Vega? Okay, so I had a
What
Chevy
is it?
Vega. It's a tiny little compact car,
They were ugly.
and it sounded a bit like a sewing machine. Sorry, Chevy or whoever made it. But the story I have about my Chevy Vega is I was pulling a little car top fishing boat, like ones you put on your car top, but my car was too small, so I had it on a trailer. And coming up from Deep Cove in North Vancouver, there's a really steep hill coming up from the ocean. I couldn't get up the hill. Like I was on the hill pulling this open boat that wasn't even that heavy in my Chevy Vega, and with my foot on the floor of the gas pedal, with it right on the floor, it wasn't moving. My buddy jumps out of the car, gets out behind, and pushes it up the hill. Not dangerous at all, right?
Add some horsepower. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had that one extra man with the horse. He was the horse that was pushing it. That was my Chevy Vega. It was right about then I said, okay, I better up.
I just pulled it up here. It's not a bad looking vehicle. It looks like a miniature version of a Camaro.
Yeah,
The front.
they probably way. This is back in the 80s. I mean, you're talking.
Well, I'm not looking at a 2025 Vega. I'll tell you that. They're all older vehicles.
They don't make Vegas anymore. They don't make. I don't know, but
No.
The one I had, honestly, is there such thing as a one cylinder? I don't know. Like,
It's called a bike.
yeah,
Fred Flintstone.
exactly.
Hey, we covering desserts. What's the best dessert your wife makes?
Oh, well, my favorite dessert is those Dairy Queen cakes, those ice cream cakes. I love those. Those are always, and for her, I would have to just say the good old fashioned chocolate chip cookie was always great.
Simple gal.
Yeah, pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving. Fantastic. Love it. You guys like pumpkin pie? Because that's a love it or hate it thing.
It is.
It is. But I love it. Yeah, I love it.
I don't care for it.
You're weird. How do you not?
You're
like
wearing a cardigan.
How do you not like pumpkin pie?
Yeah, no, but the chocolate chip cookies, the key is the chunk chips, not the chips, but the chunky chips.
Yeah,
That's
like
the key.
it.
What the decadent that you get at no free plugs, but at a certain big supermarket, and it dipped in milk. Like the problem with that is, though, I can't stop at one or two. If that bad boy's coming home,
You're eating the whole thing.
oh, I feel disgusting after. How many of these cholesterol pills should I take? No, those are bad. Those are bad. I saw them the other day. I was at the
You walked away.
I was at the pharmacy version of that store, and I'm like, oh, a decadent. Nope, don't do it. Back away, not today. Disco lady. Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Joe, getting a look down. You know, really, when you think about it, Glenn, he didn't play a heck of a lot last year. So it's good for the kid. We interviewed him back in November, full of piss and vinegar. Gotta love him. And and getting a look down there, right? Like, somewhat surprising. What do you think?
We shouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I'm surprised if there's any surprise here, it's that the NFL hasn't sooner than they do now dug deeper into the Canadian Football League athlete. Honestly, I just, there's so many guys up here that could play in either league and have that ability. But for a long time, the politics in the NFL wouldn't allow for it. So scouts down there are thinking, we're going to our Division I teams, Division I college teams. That's the start of the recruiting. They go through free agency, and then maybe a few Division II get a chance. But the division you play college football in sort of stopped the opportunity almost when you're talking NFL. And I know people say, well, wait a minute, they'll find the best players in the world, won't they? Well, yes, they do look for them, and that's why a guy like Cameron Wake, remember Cameron Wake in Vancouver?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys that they did find him. They did finally get to him, but they're fighting their own politics when it comes to recruiting out of Canada, recruiting a Canadian athlete, a U Sports athlete. That quarterback in U Sports, I can't remember his name right off the top of my head, but that quarterback that's going down to the NFL camp. That's almost never happens because of the politics, not because of the quality of athletes. So JoJo doesn't it doesn't surprise me. It just surprises me that they keep taking this long to come and look at these guys. Now,
are you talking about the quarterback of Taylor Elgersma?
Yes.
Yeah.
Going down to the combine, the NFL combine.
Yeah, he's the first Canadian university quarterback to participate in the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
There you go. So again, I'll be surprised if we don't see more of that as NFL scouts and NFL teams. I did the Dogs Breakfast last year with Sean Payton, and I talked to Coach Payton about recruiting in Canada, and he says, we've done it for a long time. I mean, we are always looking up there, but most NFL teams don't. Most NFL teams, they'll be looking, their scouts will have the radar on, but it has to be something completely different, some kind of completely different athlete for them to put aside the politics and go up and say, we're going to pull this guy in. Now, for a JoJo, again, I'm always happy for these guys because if they can go down there, do the exact same thing and make $5 million, $10 million a year doing it, good on them. I love it. Good for them. But it'll come down again like it does always for great players that we have that go get an opportunity. Is he going to get any reps in practice and in training camp? And when the vets come in, do you get any reps in practice? That's really what it comes down to. Oftentimes they don't. You can, as we saw with Nathan Rourke, you could have even a great preseason game, and they're still going to put the politics around it and say, well, if we go with Nathan Rourke and not our third-round draft pick, who is a quarterback as well, what does that say about our scouting department? So that's what they're fighting. That's what these guys are fighting going through. But I'll give you a couple numbers that are interesting to me, and it puts in perspective. I've done this before, but I'll put it in perspective when it comes to the quality of player. There are over 15,000 graduating seniors coming out of Division I and Division II in the United States every year. Those 15,000 coming out are eligible for the draft in the NFL or to be signed as free agents in the CFL. Of those 15,000 every year, maybe 300 get either drafted in the NFL or a free agent chance in the Canadian Football League. Now, those 14,700 that don't get drafted or picked up in free agency are still training for their next year opportunity, possibly. And another 15,000 are coming out of Div 1 or Div 2 in the States in college football the next year. Of those guys, less than 1% make it. So wow. You start to think about the quality of player when you pare it down that far. So you watch an NCAA Div 1 game, like one of the bowl games or even the championship, you look at those athletes and you say, well, that's as good a college football level as you're going to see. And I couldn't agree more. Less than 1% of those guys are going to make it on a roster in either game, either up here or down there. So it puts in perspective to me the quality of athlete in both leagues. So when the NFL gets rid of their politics more and more as time goes on, we're going to see more guys up here getting an opportunity down there, and maybe it starts becoming a real opportunity with a lot of reps and practice and training camp.
I think that the NFL misses out because there's a league where they're playing at a higher level. They're playing 18 games. They're playing pro football. They're learning that experience. The NFL's miss out if they don't look at the CFL as an opportunity for them to find more players. It's clear that guys can play, maybe not all positions, but it's clear that guys can play when they go back.
Yeah, it's a good point. And when you think about the line of scrimmage, they're different enough games at the line of scrimmage that it's probably harder to find offensive linemen up here that could make it down there. There's a few, and we've seen quite a few go down there, but they're often bigger. It's more of a driving game, although the Patrick Mahomes world is all throwing the football as well. But when you look at the line of scrimmage, there's differences in the rules that change the athlete drastically. But when you look at DBs, for instance, to your point, up here a defensive back in Canada has to cover in a one-on-one scenario a receiver that runs full speed towards the line of scrimmage before the snap of the ball. So when he hits the line of scrimmage, he is running full speed, and you have to pick him up as a DB here and try to play man-to-man coverage on a guy that's had a run at you. Not to mention the fact that everybody up here can be in motion at the same time. So you could see a bunch formation hitting the line as they crisscross at the line of scrimmage and have to pick up your man in that maze of fast, full-speed play, and then can't jam beyond 5 yards, so you can't be overly physical to try and slow that stuff down. And that kind of training, I would say, you go down there as a DB, for instance, boy, you should have a real advantage in just playing straight man-to-man when you can be right on the line of scrimmage, playing jam or bump and run coverage, and playing man when you've had to play it up here. So, I agree. And listen, don't get me wrong. There are world-class athletes playing in the NFL. My point, though, is the perception that it's second here is wrong. The athlete here is world-class as well. It's just about opportunity. And I hope a Joe gets reps in camp. I hope he gets a chance. He's a good kid, a good athlete. You mentioned his attitude and how he approaches the game. That's going to help. But down there, because of sheer numbers as well, one mistake or for a guy like a Joe, one mistake or one mental error where he misses a play, you're pretty much losing all your opportunity and reps if you do that once, because they have such a deep field to look at. Like their practice rosters or whatever they're called are, they're full of top-notch guys that are ready for their opportunity too. So
and money.
Yeah.
And money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the almighty
Barney,
dollar bill.
Yep.
Barney, I buried the headline. That's basically the main one. That's the main one that changes their decisions. And it's funny, though, because when we talk about any sport, whether it's hockey or the CFL or whatever, and we say, well, we're paying him starter money, so he has to start. I just can't get my head around that. If I ever took a pro coaching job, I would, in the very first meeting,
Is this hey, breaking news. Breaking news.
Yeah.
NDAs are stupid, but I'm just saying, if I ever signed a head coaching opportunity, the first thing I'd say in the meeting to the GM and president is that you deal with how much we're paying the athletes. I hope that they get as much as they can, but that will not in any way determine who plays, who starts, who doesn't.
Yeah.
That's up to the coaching staff. That's up to what they do on the field. It has nothing to do with their paycheck. I know it does in reality, more so in the NFL really than up here even. But for quarterbacks up here, we say it all the time. I mean, he's got starters' money, so they've got to start him. What?
Yeah. No.
That's crazy. You can't win that way if you think that way. I believe.
You're not putting your best team on the field if that's what you're deciding. If that's what's making your decisions for you, why even have practice? We know who's going to start and who's going to play. Just look at the contract and line up your roster.
You know, we got a few more minutes here. I just thought about this today, and I'll get your take on it if I can spit this out properly. I wonder this year, the way our dollar is going, Canadian dollar, and by the time football season comes, who knows what it's at. I wonder if athletes will decide to maybe just start a career if they got an opportunity instead of chasing that dream just because of where our dollar could be.
Yeah, I think most of the guys down there, first of all, it'll really help. I mean, they have to pay taxes twice unless that's changed in recent years. An American coming up has to pay taxes up here, taxes down there. It's tough, and it doesn't go quite as far. The change in the dollar would help them in a big way. Absolutely. When you're talking guys in the NHL that are making American money, even if they play on a Canadian team, yeah, big time. Now you're talking about a Canadian kid that lives in Canada year round and is making U.S. currency and is spending it in Canada. Wow, huge advantage for those guys. That would be big time wanting to play in Canada and live up here. But yeah, I think the motivation, honestly, for those guys, though, is when they're, obviously they want to be drafted in the NFL. They want to try and get on a roster there and make that life-changing money. But if they don't, whether it be that tweaked ankle in a test that they did, they run a 40, they tweak their ankle or something, and now they're not quite at top speed in that first mini camp. And that's it. That was their chance. They want to keep their dream alive. They come up here and they play, and most of them, honestly, most of the Americans come up here and play, fall in love with our game, fall in love with our country and the cities and the fans. Don't fall in love with the lower, smaller paycheck than they would get down there. but they do fall in love with the country and the league.
They get to learn about how you can have multiple taxes taken out of a paycheck and other places. Kate, in closing, quickly, you got any kind of predictions? What are you curious about when it comes to the NFL games this weekend?
Yeah, I've been looking at that. Jaden Daniels is the wild card for me. When they score 68 points in 2 playoff games, I start to think maybe they can outscore any team. Now the Eagles are a different beast because of Jalen Hurts. I believe is a little nicked. That's something you got to watch. But Saquon Barkley is, that grinding. Let's put it this way. Washington will load the line of scrimmage to stop the run game. They are going to try and do everything in their power. So Jalen Hurts is going to have to throw for 202 touchdowns. And if he does that, they might be able to beat Washington. But they're kind of that old school team. But this running back Barkley, he is the real deal, man. Like this guy, I think even if they load the box, they might not be able to stop him anyway, because that run game is something special. So
how'd you like to be a New York Giants scout fan that just let him walk?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Real deal. It's amazing what motivation will do, right? Like, there's a team that doesn't want me. Okay, watch me now.
and then, do you have Kansas City Chiefs fatigue, or are you okay with the Chiefs and what they're doing, or are you rooting for the Bills, or where do you land there?
Well, I'm sort of rooting for the Bills, only because of Patrick Mahomes. Not that he's being favored or protected by the refs or anything. I don't believe in that. But because of him trying to manipulate a call or flop on a call or something, that just I hate it. It is a pet peeve. So for that reason, I'm voting or rooting for the Bills. But I am having tons of fun. I don't know if you guys are, but if you go on social media and you hear how these guys on social media show a replay of Patrick Mahomes, and they go, okay, the great savior Patrick Mahomes, the superstar player, drops back. Oh, what a tremendous handoff. Wait a minute. Before the snap of the ball, there were 3 penalties on the defense for pass interference. That player, number 44, will be executed after the game for coming anywhere near Patrick Mahomes. So these voiceovers with actual clips of Patrick Mahomes are priceless. I found myself scrolling through my phone listening to these things, laughing out loud, going, "Oh my goodness, this is why kids love social media, I guess." But man, I am having some fun with that stuff.
Yeah, that's the only way I watch the games nowadays. That's how I figure out the scores. I just see them, and it's like, oh, we'll be executed after the game, interfering with Patrick Mahomes' personal bubble.
Yes.
All hail Chiefs.
His personal bubble, I love that. Yeah. Infringing his personal bubble, he will be executed after the game.
Yeah. All right, let's see how it all lands, and then we'll chat Tuesday and put a bow on it. Thanks, Glenn.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Suits.
Right on. TSN. Glen Suitor joining us here on the Sports Cage. We are streaming at sportscage.com. Just the one hockey game in the area tonight that we know of. It is AAA midget. Estevan visits the Regina Pat Canadians. 8 p.m. at the Sixer.
Cooperator 7:30.
6. That's 8. That 8? Pat Blues.
Oh, Pat
Southeast
Blues games.
Oilers
Okay.
Is 7:30. I don't know if there's any tickets left though. Curling going on in Kindersley. Stephen Laycock leads on the men's side at 5-0. They're on the ice right now. Little update here. If I refresh my screen, no update to speak of. That is unfortunate. On the women's side, Barker and Campbell are 4-0. The women go at it at 8 p.m. this evening. There. Don't forget, it is Thursday. That means it's pasta and uncorked Thursdays at the Canadian Brew House. $11.99 per pasta dish. Can't get much. Yeah, it's a good deal in this economy.
Yep.
Lots of different varieties. And then if you want to get the wine going, you get a 9-ounce glass for the price of a 6-ounce. And if you're just a beer guy or girl, $1 off tankards of Bud and Bud Light. SJHL report heard every Tuesday here on the Sports Cage for Southie Mainline Chrysler, where they're saying farewell to 2024, $25,000 off remaining 2024 inventory.
That's big cash.
Up to $19,000 off 2024 heavy duties.
That's big cash.
Big cash. Southie Mainline Chrysler, the new king of trucks in Southie Saskatchewan, worth the drive every time, guaranteed. We talked about it Flin Flon last night.
Yeah.
There's no SJ games tonight.
But they're in Weyburn tomorrow night. Big game at the Colisée.
Flin Flon 4-0 over Estevan yesterday. Matthew Keeper hasn't lost this year, former Regina Pats goalie. He had 22 saves in the shutout yesterday. Then you brought up a good point about this little Southern swing so far.
Yeah, nobody scored on them. They've won 5-0 and 4-0.
So not only are you winning,
you're not getting scored on. Easy to win when you don't get scored on.
Regina Pats are back at home Saturday against the Prince Albert Raiders, coming off a tough 4-2 loss against the Lethbridge Hurricanes last night. Lethbridge is one of the best teams in the country. Then you talked about junior hockey and a new logo.
Yes. The Newfoundland Regiment joining the Quebec Major Junior League. I saw that logo come out today. I liked it. You didn't?
Well, no, you said it was the nicest or the greatest logo you've ever seen.
I just said it's a great new logo. And the regiment is important because the Newfoundland Regiment was decimated during World War I. And so I think it's a great recognition.
So why do they have a
regiment?
Elk?
It's a moose.
Why do they have a moose?
Because moose are big in Newfoundland. There's lots of them.
I believe it was also in the regiment's actual logo.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's inspired by the original logo of the regiment.
As I look at it, it's I don't mind it. Yeah. Don't mind it.
And,
I like
and imagine now them facing the Pats in the Mem Cup. You got the regiment and the regiment.
Oh. Look at Colson put that together.
What year are you thinking?
Yeah.
Next couple, give or take, according to Sharky.
Yeah. Oh,
Write
Pats
that down
maybe.
in your little book.
Yeah.
Write that down in your little book.
I was just gonna say moose are big everywhere. Like, have you ever seen one? They're huge.
I have.
Dynamite. He's back, ladies and gentlemen. Curtis.
Yeah.
is-
And they're delicious.
If you missed the Farhan Lalji segment from earlier, we're going to play that after the break. Great insight on the CFL, a Joe, NFL,
the Canucks.
cover the full gamut with Farhan Lalji. Always a pleasure, my man.
Are we done?
Fun. Yeah, we're going to play Farhan, then we got to go.
Where do we got to go? What do we got to do?
It is the All New SportsCage. Thanks so much. Back tomorrow. Supposed to have Mitch Picton on the show tomorrow.
Great show tomorrow. Looking forward to hearing that. Great show.
Always streaming at sportscage.com. For the most part, always streaming. And as always, on 620 CKRM.